The doorbell's frantic chimes sliced through the stifling summer air like a knife, each ring a hammer blow against my already frayed nerves. It was a sound I'd come to dread, a harbinger of loss that twisted my stomach into knots. My heart raced, a caged bird battering against my ribs, as I tore down the stairs of our modest home in Crestwood Pines, my worn sneakers scuffing the hardwood. My daughter, Sophie, barely 7, peeked from the kitchen doorway, her hazel eyes wide with worry, her blonde pigtails framing a face too young for such fear. "Mama, is it the medicine again?" Her voice trembled, small and fragile. I flung open the front door, already knowing what I'd find or rather, what I wouldn't. The porch was barren, the cheerful ping of my phone a cruel mockery in my trembling hand. "Your package has been delivered," the notification screamed, paired with a photo time-stamped 10 minutes ago, showing a small insulated box Sophie's life essay, VYing medication sitting innocently on our faded doormat. Now, it was gone, swallowed by the eerie silence of Crestwood Pines, a gated community that flaunted its polished lawns and whispered promises of safety. But I was learning the hard truth. Safety here came with a price, enforced by Eleanor Caldwell, the iron-fisted HOA president whose smile hid a predator's teeth. Sophie tugged at my sleeve, her eyes searching mine. "Is it gone, Mama?" I forced a smile, my lips cracking under the strain. "Just a mix-up, sweetheart. I'll fix it." But my voice betrayed me, quivering with the weight of a truth I couldn't hide. This wasn't a mix-up. It was the third time in 4 months that Sophie's medication had vanished from our porch, each theft a calculated strike. The first time, Eleanor had cooed empty sympathies, her voice syrupy sweet, only to pivot with a barbed suggestion that I should be home for such critical deliveries. As if I, Clara, a single mom scraping by with an online jewelry business, could afford to stand guard on my porch all day while juggling Sophie's medical bills and Crestwood's sky-high fees. The second theft brought a shift in Eleanor's tone, her crocodile tears replaced by a smirk and a raised brow. "Perhaps there's some internal mismanagement," she'd mused loudly, her words carrying across the cul-de-sac, sharp as a blade. The implication was clear. I was the problem, careless or worse. Now, with Sophie's medication reserves dipping dangerously low and the next shipment a week away, panic clawed at my throat. Crestwood Pines had seemed like a haven when I signed the endless contracts, a desperate bid to give Sophie stability for her rare blood disorder. The manicured hedges, the whispering pines, the illusion of serenity, it was all a lie. I realized, a gilded cage ruled by Eleanor Caldwell. Eleanor was a VY Shaun of curated perfection, sleek auburn hair never out of place, designer athleisure worth more than my monthly rent, and an uncanny knack for appearing the moment a mailbox tilted slightly askew or a child's laugh rang too loud. My first complaint about the thefts was met with a dismissive flick of her manicured hand, her rings glinting like ice. "Package theft is a modern plague, Clara," she'd purred, her tone dripping with condescension. "Perhaps a P.O. box for your sensitive deliveries." The unspoken message hung heavy. You and your sick kid are the blemish on our perfect canvas. Then came the HOA violation notice. Sophie's beloved porch bench, a rickety heirloom where she'd sit and sketch on her good days, was deemed VY sually discordant. The fine was small, but its meaning was chilling. Question the order, and you'll be punished. The thefts escalated, targeting not just Sophie's meds, but the supplies for my jewelry business, me only income since Sophie's condition demanded constant care. Each report to Eleanor was met with growing irritation, her lips tightening into a thin line. During one unannounced VY sit, as I photographed new designs in my tiny backyard, she leaned in, her smile cold. "Crestwood has strict standards for residents who overburden our resources. Complaints, security issues, they lower property values, don't they?" The threat was clear. You're the problem, and problems can be erased. Desperation drove me to my neighbors, my voice hushed, terrified of being branded a troublemaker. Mrs. Larson, a kind widow whose prized azaleas had withered overnight after she'd questioned a sudden HOA fee hike, whispered her suspicions over our shared fence. It was Eleanor, Clara. I saw her near my garden at midnight, claiming she was checking sprinklers. There was no moon. Mr. Torres, a mechanic who'd parked his spotless work truck in his driveway for an hour, faced crippling fines for commercial active VY tie. He showed me the notices, his jaw tight. She's trying to ruin me, Clara. I know it. A pattern emerged, chilling and undeniable. Dissent, however polite, triggered swift retaliation, subtle at first, like a misplaced trash can, then VY sias, like slashed tires or dead gardens. Eleanor wasn't just an overzealous HOA tyrant. She was a dictator, her velvet glove hiding a steel fist. Fueled by a mother's fury, I ordered a high-tech security camera with night VY sound. The day it arrived miraculously untouched, I began installing it, my hands shaking with defiance. But Eleanor's shadow fell across my porch before I'd driven the first screw. Trouble, Clara. Her voice was honeyed poison. I met her gaze, forcing calm. Just a camera, Eleanor. For peace of mind. Her smile tightened. You'll need committee approval, per Section 7B of the updated bylaws. We can't have unvetted surveillance, can we? Her eyes flicked to Mrs. Larson's house, a warning. The bylaws, emailed at 2 a.m., were a 60-page labyrinth of legalese. My camera application drowned in bureaucratic quicksand-endless requests for lens specifications and aesthetic compliance re-VYUs. Then came the blow that shattered my restraint. Sophie's custom wheelchair, a lightweight marvel that let her move freely despite her frailty, was destroyed. Not just punctured tires, but a brutal assault. The frame twisted, the wheels smashed, the armrests torn apart. It had been locked under our carport, safer so I thought. I found Sophie staring at the wreckage, her small face blank, tears silent. The cruelty of it stole my breath, a message carved in mangled metal: you're vulnerable. Give up. Confronting Eleanor, my voice shook with rage. She feigned concern, her eyes cold. Oh, Clara, how awful. Neighborhood kids, no doubt. If Sophie's conspicuous equipment wasn't so accessible. The VY Tim blaming was a slap, confirming my suspicions. This was Eleanor's doing. That night, as Sophie slept fitfully, I sat at my kitchen table, the wheelchair's broken parts spread before me like a shattered dream. Grief weighed heavy, but beneath it, a cold, unyielding fury took root. I wouldn't break. For Sophie, I couldn't. She deserved safety, joy, a childhood. I began to think like Eleanor, calculating, meticulous, ruthless. I documented everything, every theft, every threat, every neighbor's whispered grievance. I cross-referenced stories from Mrs. Larson and Mr. Torres, mapping Eleanor's routines, her Monday yoga walks with her clique, her Friday book club in her sterile mansion, her daily inspections of Crestwood's flawless facades. The thefts weren't random. They were tools of control, meant to break us. But where did the packages go? Eleanor's home, glimpsed during a safety inspection, was a showroom devoid of clutter. There had to be a stash point. I crafted a trap. Taking an old box, I filled it with junk mail for weight, then buried a prepaid GPS tracker inside. I sealed it, addressed it to a slightly altered version of my name with a fake unit number, and left it on the porch alongside a real delivery of beads. From my bedroom window, I watched, heart pounding, as the delivery van came and went. Eleanor's black SUV cruised by, slowing just enough to make my pulse spike. Had she sensed it? Hours later, under cover of darkness, a hooded figure darted across my lawn, snatching only the decoy box before vanishing into the shadows. My phone's GPS app lit up, the red MOVYing not to Eleanor's house, but to a grim storage facility 10 miles away. Safeguard Storage, a fortress of concrete and barbed wire. The next day, posing as a small business owner needing space, I rented a unit at Safeguard. The clerk, a wiry man named Baxter, eyed me warily. When I asked about security, he smirked. Top-notch, lady. Cameras, codes, sensors. Our clients value discretion. The words sent a chill down my spine. Using a risky late-night stakeout, I confirmed Eleanor was the thief, her face caught in a streetlight's glare as she punched in a gate code. I had her unit number, but accessing it legally was impossible without EVY Denke. I needed a miracle. It came in the form of Mrs. Larson's grandson, Ethan, a 30-year-old tech whiz with a hacker's disdain for bullies. Over coffee in Mrs. Larson's cluttered den, I spilled everything. The thefts, the vandalism, the GPS trap. When I mentioned Safeguard and a shell company Pine Grove Solutions I'd traced from a soggy invoice near the unit, Ethan's eyes sparked. Pine Grove? Hold on. His fingers flew across his laptop, unearthing Pine Grove as a subsidiary of Pine Grove Estates, owned by Gregory Marshall, a local real estate tycoon whose face graced charity galas and whose charm had dazzled Crestwood's last summer picnic. Eleanor had practically glowed under his praise. Ethan dug deeper, revealing Pine Grove Estates had been snapping up properties around Crestwood, targeting older lots like mine and Mrs. Larson's, often after mysterious misfortunes burst pipes, pest invasions, code violations. The pattern mirrored our suffering. Clara, Ethan said, his voice grim, Eleanor's not just a petty tyrant. She's Marshall's enforcer in a scheme to tank property values and force sales. The truth hit like a punch. The thefts, fines, and vandalism were a campaign to drive us out, letting Marshall swoop in with lowball offers. We needed proof tying Eleanor to the storage unit and Marshall to the conspiracy. Ethan, using Wi-Fi data and a DA contact, traced a burner phone to Eleanor, purchased at a nearby electronics store. Grainy footage showed her distinctive posture and handbag. Safeguard, we learned, was owned by Pine Grove Estates, and Baxter was Marshall's lackey, guarding the stolen goods. The Crestwood Annual Gala, where Marshall would announce a community fund, was 6 days away, our stage for justice. We formed a secret alliance. Me, Ethan, Mrs. Larson, Mr. Torres, and Mr. Klein, a quiet accountant ousted from the HOA for noticing consultancy payments to Pine Grove Solutions. Mrs. Larson pro-VY dead logs of Eleanor's harassment. Mr. Torres had photos of his fine truck and a recorded threat from Eleanor. Mr. Klein's financial reports exposed millions funneled to Marshall's fronts. Ethan built a damning presentation, documents, timelines, and a chilling audio of Eleanor threatening Sophie's safety if I didn't cease complaints. To bait Eleanor, I leaked through a gossip that I was selling my house. The next day, a laughably low offer arrived from a Pine Grove LLC. At the gala, Crestwood's hall sparkled with fake cheer. Eleanor, in a sapphire gown, glided like royalty. Marshall, in a crisp tux, oozed charisma. I wore a simple black dress, Sophie safe with a friend, her meds secured after a costly emergency run. As Marshall's speech peaked, Ethan, in the AV booth, flickered the screen from Happy Residence to Safeguard's unit, stuffed with stolen goods, rented by E. Caldwell Ventures. The crowd froze as images flashed. Eleanor buying the burner phone, falsified HOA notices, Klein's financial expose, a map of Marshall's acquisitions encircling our homes. My voice, steady through a patched-in mic, cut the silence. You speak of community, but what community thrives on theft and fear? I laid bare their scheme. Ethan's sinking EVY Denke. Mrs. Larson's dead azaleas tied to a fake gardener paid by Eleanor, Torres's truck finds linked to her emails, and her voice threatening Sophie. The hall erupted in gasps. Marshall's charm crumbled, his face reddening. Slander, he roared, but his voice shook. Eleanor's composure shattered, her scream piercing. It was Gregory. He forced me. A goon lunged for Ethan, but Mr. Torres blocked him. Mrs. Larson stood, her voice ringing. She killed my azaleas and threatened my taxes. Others joined, a chorus of rage toppling Crestwood's facade. Police lights flashed outside, tipped off by my lawyer friend, who'd filmed everything. Marshall and Eleanor were cuffed, their empires collapsing. The aftermath was staggering. Safeguard's unit held a hoard of stolen goods, meds, jewelry, heirlooms logged by Eleanor for sale. Pine Grove's records exposed bribery and extortion. The HOA was dissolved. A new council formed with me as Advy Sore. Restitution began, neighbors rebuilt, and Sophie's laughter, ringing as she zoomed on a new wheelchair gifted by allies, was my triumph. Crestwood Pines became a true home, scarred but resilient. But questions linger, burning for answers. Was Eleanor a pawn or a willing VY Lane? Did Marshall's greed blind him to the human cost, or was he coldly indifferent? Could our community have stopped this sooner if we'd united earlier? And what about the silent neighbors? Were they complicit in their fear, or VY Tims too? Share your thoughts below, like if you felt the rage, and subscribe for more stories of justice. What would you have done in my shoes?